Why life is like a shower. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this one. Remember that when you have this, the two negatives next to each other, that's like saying the opposite of negative. So that would be positive. So you would really be saying positive 4 plus 10, which that comes out to 14. Then this one down here. Okay, we do what's inside the parentheses or what's inside the grouping. So I'm going to start here. So the 3 I leave alone. Then I look in here, and this is the same thing. We have the opposite of a negative. So this negative right here next to this negative right here, that turns into a positive. So I now have a positive 8, which would be 11. Then I have negative 12 plus, and again, it does the same thing. This turns to a plus 5. Now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 negatives. I have 5 positives. These all cancel out. Remember, that all cancels out. What's left? A negative 7. This one, again, you do what's inside the parentheses first. Some of you learned it as PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, whatever. The parentheses goes first, so I do what's inside the parentheses first. I leave everything else alone. I add that together. A negative times a positive 16 is going to be a negative 16. Right here, again, I do what's inside the parentheses first. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 positives. I have 2 negatives. These cancel out, so I'm left with 6 positives. Negative times a positive is a negative 6. Right here. Again, the opposite of a negative is a positive. I have 11 positives. I have 6 more positives. I have a total of 17 positives. Again, I do what's inside these brackets first. So 4 minus 7. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negatives. These cancel out right here. What am I left with? I'm left with a negative 3. Now, you notice how I'm changed from bracket, our braces. Try that again. Brackets to parentheses. They're just grouping. It doesn't matter which one you use. Normally, you start with parentheses, then brackets, then braces. That's just how it goes. Okay, so negative times a negative 3. That's like having a negative 1 here times a negative 3. Or a negative negative, the opposite of a negative, positive 3. Again, I'm going to do what's inside the parentheses. 12 minus 3. If I have 12 and I take away 3, I'm left with 9. So that's going to give me a negative 9. So here, I have negative 5 minus 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives, and I have 5 more negatives. How many negatives do I have? Nothing cancels out. I have 10 negatives. The opposite of a negative 10 is a positive 10. Okay, I start with the inside and I work outside. So the opposite of a negative is going to get me a 2. The opposite of a positive is going to get me a negative 2. Okay, over here. So, absolute value. Absolute value. Oops, I can't spell. Is the distance from 0. Give you a hint. It is always positive. So if I look at this, I have 6. How far is -1 away from 0? It's 1 unit away. So 6 plus 1 is 7. How far is -3 from 0? It's 3 away. How far is 30 away from 0? It's 30 away. So I add the two numbers together. Here, we start inside and we work out, just like we've been doing. So 4 minus 9, the absolute value. So I have 4 positives, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 negatives. These cancel out, and I'm left with 5 negatives. Okay, the absolute value of -5. The distance from 0 is -5, or 5 units. So I add those together and I get 15. Okay, I go to my next one. Okay, so I have 12 positives, or sorry, 5 negatives, and I have 12 is that right? 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah. These cancel out, and I'm left with 7 minus 7. So the absolute value of 7 is 7. I subtract these and I get 0. Okay, so here I start again. 1 minus 15. I have 1 positive, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 negatives. These cancel out, so I'm left with 14 negatives. But the absolute value of -14 means how far is -14 from 0? It is 14 units away. So if I add those two together, I get 22. I'm not filling in the blank things for you because you can do that on your own. Okay, so I do what's inside the absolute value first. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 negatives. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives. These cancel out, so I'm left with 5 negatives. So I take the absolute value. I do this part first. I have a negative on the outside, but I do this part first. What is the distance from 0 to -5? It's 5 away. The opposite of a 5 is a -5. Okay, this negative was on the outside, so we have to do that last. So I'm doing what's inside, 10 minus 4. If I take 10 and I subtract 4, I'm going to get a +6. The distance from 0 to 6 is 6. The opposite of a 6 is -6. Next, boys and girls, this is like multiplication right here. Just like if you have 3 times 2, that's the same thing. It's the same thing. So, what is the opposite, or sorry, what is the distance from 0 to -2? It's +2. What's the distance from 0 to -3? It is 3. So I have to do multiplication before I can do addition. So 6 plus 3 gets me 9. Right here, I do what's inside the absolute value first. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 positives. These cancel themselves out, so I'm left with 4 positives. So the absolute value of 4 is 4. So then I get 20 minus 1, which is 19. Okay. So here we have, notice how I have a bracket here. So then I have 2 times the absolute value of negative 7. The distance from 0 to negative 7 is 7 minus 6. Okay, so 14 minus 6. So that would get me 8. Oops. I'm going to use a bracket. I might as well keep a bracket. The opposite of a positive 8 is a negative 8. Okay, and evaluate means plug in the number for x. So I have a negative already. I'm replacing x with negative 3. So the opposite of a negative is a positive. I have a negative. I'm replacing the y with 1. Oopsie daisy. The opposite of a positive 1 is a negative 1. Here we go again. I have a negative. I plug in a negative 7 plus 5. The opposite of a negative is a positive 7. So that would get me 12. Okay, so here I go negative. Then I have another negative. Then I have a negative 20. So I start with the inside out. Right here, the opposite of a negative, that's going to get me a positive. The opposite of a positive is going to get me a negative. Here we go. I have a negative. I replace the x with 2 minus 9. So I have negative 2 minus 9. I have 2 negatives, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many negatives do I have? Negative 11. Okay, last column. So I have, oopsie daisy. So this is the opposite of positive 7. So that's a negative 7. But then we have to take the absolute value. So that means the distance from 0, and that is 7. So then on this one, I plug in negative 18 plus 1 inside the absolute value marks. So when I do that, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And I have 1 positive. So those cancel out. So I'm left with 17 negatives. What is the distance from 0 to negative 17? 17 units. Okay, I have a negative on the outside, negative on the inside, then I have a negative 10. I work from the inside out. The opposite of a negative is a positive. The distance from 0 to positive 10 is positive 10. The opposite of a positive is a negative. Okay. 4 minus 8. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These cancel out. So I'm left with negative 4. The absolute value of negative 4, that means the distance from 0 to negative 4 is 4. The opposite of a positive 4 is a negative 4. Okay, so here we go again. Bracket, absolute value, the opposite of a negative 6 plus the distance from 0 to negative 6. So, opposite of a negative is a positive. The distance from 0 to negative 6 is positive 6. The distance from 0 to 6 is 6. Multiplication comes before addition, so 18 plus 6. So the opposite of a positive 24 is a negative 24. So I hope that helped you.